Hello, we're back with Bob Milligan, a senior consultant for dairy strategies. Today, he will help us understand what we should do when we are feeling blue to keep it from affecting our businesses. Welcome, Bob.
Thank you, Karen. Obviously, with this topic, we're talking about emotions. Emotions are not easy to talk about. It's especially true for us males. But one of the things we have to understand is that we all have emotions. In fact, that's part of what makes us a human being, actually part of what distinguishes human beings as human beings. So when we're feeling blue, we're thinking about the emotions of sad, unhappy, we're down, we're low. So the first thing we need to talk about and think about is to do some self-analysis. Why are we feeling blue? Now, to understand that, we need to understand what's happening around that. And one of the things that I've observed is that most times when we're feeling blue, it's because some change has occurred that we perceive as a loss. It may be something that's happened, could even be a tragedy, but something that's happened that's not good for us. Or it could be that what's happening is very different from our expectations. That's been going on this spring because most farmers haven't been able to get their corn planted according to their expectations. And so the change is something that we perceive as loss. Now, research has shown that we actually go through a pattern whenever we perceive a change as loss. That pattern is referred to as the grief cycle. That's not because it only deals with grief. It's because the initial research was done with people who were actually in a grief situation. But subsequent research has shown that we go through this pattern, obviously to a less intense extent, anytime we perceive that something is a loss. And so typically, when we're feeling blue, we're actually in this stage that's shown on the screen that's called depression and detachment. The loss has occurred, we've gone through the shock and denial, we've gone through the anger, and now we're blue. Okay, we need to move through this stage so we can start to move on. Before we come back to that now, let's think about how does this impact the people around us?
Bob, how does someone being blue affect those that they lead?
Let's think about a situation first, Karen. A, a manager of a baseball team that's in a 10-game losing streak. The manager's pretty blue. Okay, he's depressed, he's concerned, but now think about this. Can that manager portray his sadness, his blueness, we'll call it, to his team? Obviously not. He's actually got to have the opposite behaviors. He's got to be the encourager. He's got to keep people up. We can get through this. Well, that's really true for all of us. We have to distinguish between how we feel, the emotion, and how we behave as a result of that emotion. Now, in many cases, our instinctive behavior, which is our natural reaction, which in this case would be to portray that blueness so everyone can see, is not necessarily the right situation. It wasn't right for the manager. It isn't always right for those that you lead. You have to stop and think about, how should I behave? What is my thoughtful behavior? Despite the fact that I recognize that I'm blue, okay, what am I going to portray to other people as the leader? You cannot infect everyone else with your blueness. So now that we've recognized that we have to understand how we feel, and we may not necessarily be able to behave that way, let's come back to thinking about how do we move along. In reality, we have to move along these stages in the diagram. But one of the things we have to understand is that when we're in this depression and detachment stage, but also when we're in the shock and denial and the anger stage, decision making is difficult. We're decision-making deprived. In the case of the detachment and depression, we just don't have the energy to make decisions. So what do we need to do? We probably need to get some help. I'm not talking about psychologists, although that may be the case. I'm talking about those who are around you. Now you're saying, Bob, you're just crazy. You've told me I can't portray the way I'm actually feeling to the people I lead, but now I need help from people around me. No, that is correct. The people you lead, you have to have the correct behaviors, but you need a support system. You need your family. You need people you can go to let your hair down. You need people who will help you in these situations, help you find the energy, help you with the decision making so that you can move through this process and get on with getting out of feeling blue and feeling better about yourself and about the world. So what do we take away from this? Really, three key takeaways. First of all, you have to understand how and why you're feeling blue. Second, don't infect those you lead. And third, take steps to move on.
Thank you, Bob, for joining us today. For more information on working with people, view additional webinars at www.progressivedairy.com or read Bob's articles in our print edition of Progressive Dairyman. Have a great day.